Did you know, my little nugget man, my munchkin, that there is a widely used instrument, a very common instrument, that is, for some reason, conspicuous? My brain is now farting on me and telling me that might not be a word. Conspicuous. I'm pretty sure it's a word. Conspicuously absent from the greatest soundtrack series of all time, the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. So this is important because it's about the Lord of the Rings. So it's an important topic to cover. There's an instrument that you'll see in many other similar scores that for some reason is not included in Howard Shore's The Lord of the Rings score. And I'm going to go over some speculations for why I think that might be the case. Anyway, the instrument, if you can't think of it, is the piano. I was thinking one day about The Lord of the Rings, and I realized there's no piano in any track I can think of in The Lord of the Rings. It doesn't feature in the soundscape. Why is that? Why would, for someone who's trying to create this vast, multi-layered, multi-textured palette, this scene, this world of sound and music for an entire world, the world of Middle Earth, how come in all the cultures that the Lord of the Rings takes us to, Lothlorien, Rivendell, the Shire, Rohan, Gondor, Mordor, all these different places, there is no space, there is no need or want for a piano? Why doesn't it feature at all in Howard Shore's score? Well, the first thing that came to mind is maybe he is trying to create an older sounding sound. Try to follow with me here. Maybe he's trying to have an older orchestra. Now, he's not going so far back to like ancient Greek times where all the musical assets at his disposal are, a lyre and a flute that aren't in modern scales, and you play weird discordant music on them. So he's not trying to go primeval with his sound, but he also is trying to keep it far away from contemporary. He doesn't want it to sound like a contemporary score. Now this is fair. The pianoforte is a more contemporary instrument than, say, a violin or brass. So that makes sense to me. But it does seem kind of arbitrary, doesn't it? Like, well, would people have really noticed? Is it really that necessary? I don't know. Anyway, there's one thought. Another thought is, okay, maybe he's not trying to keep, his orchestra pure just for the sake of the orchestra. Maybe it's the actual sound of the piano. Because you'll notice, if you listen to a lot of the Lord of the Rings score, it's very flowy, except for like the Uruk-hai theme, the Isengard, da da dun chung chung dun 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 chung chung. That's like very percussive, but everything else is kind of made up of great swells of sound as he sort of paints a continuum, a tapestry of sound, where each image sort of flows into the next one, and there's not great breaks between, say, the Shire thing, into the fellowship theme. It kind of flows. He goes for flow. Obviously, with the Lothlorien music. That's actually Rivendell, I think. Anyway, just generally, his themes are very sort of legato is what I'm going with. And the piano is a percussion stringed instrument. So maybe that's it. But then again, he uses like not a clavicle. What the frick? Like a harpsichord style sort of thing. Because it's an older percussion stringed instrument, so he feels confident in his permission to use that, I guess. So maybe it's not just about the percussiveness of the sound. But yeah, if I had to guess, it would just be because the piano itself has created its own connotation through how it's been used in worship music and rock bands. There's not a single genre of music nowadays where you can really see a piano featuring, except for a cappella. Yeah. But even then, there are some barbershop groups who do create covers of songs where they have accompaniment. So, anyway, that's a stupid rabbit trail that I don't need to go down. But yeah, the piano has kind of been shaped into its own connotation. And what is that connotation? Well, one, it's that it can fit in any genre of music. So it's kind of a generic instrument. It doesn't really have a distinctive voice. Because you can play it anyway. You can play it, with the sustain pedal very softly to create emotional moments. And you can kind of also just bang out some themes on it very energetically. And it works both ways. So it's possible that it's almost actually too versatile of an instrument to really fit what Howard Shore is doing. Because Howard Shore, he uses the connotations of each of the instrument's voices, including vocals, to not just create a theme where the notes kind of play the emotion that he's trying to convey, but where the actual timbre of the sound creates the atmosphere that he wants. For instance, the most iconic thing that comes to my mind when I think about the writing, the dialect of the instrument, is how he uses the orchestra for the introduction of the Balrog. What kind of music, once all the other sort of panicked, just orchestral sound fades away and all the goblins start scurrying out as the Balrog comes, what is the primary instrument he goes with? Male voices. Male choir going, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to do that to you. Here, all better now. Need me to kiss the boo-boo? Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to disrespect you like that. So yeah, he goes for a sound. The oldest instrument in the universe. Just human voices. So it has this sort of ritualistic, primal feeling. And, they're going, like how I did when I knocked you down. They're like grunting and growling and singing at the bottom of their ranges. And it creates this sort of ritualistic, pagan-sounding, demonic-sounding timbre of sound. You can't do that with a piano. As versatile as a piano is, it doesn't fit there. Now, let's think about elsewhere. When Sam picks up Frodo and carries him up Mount Doom, what does he opt for there? Well, the primary instrument is brass. Brass naturally has a sort of heroic, triumphant, martial feeling. And it's perfect for that moment. A piano doesn't fit that apotheosis of Sam's arc there. It doesn't fit. And then strings. Well, strings are I just committed a good deed. I killed a mosquito. Clap for me. Applaud me. Strings are kind of the brush strokes that Howard Shore likes to use, to fill chords and also to create that sort of just sweeping legato feeling when he needs that in the soundtrack. Like for the Rivendell theme. And it works well in the voice of a violin because you don't have those. It's not being beaten out. It flows. Violins, they kind of float. So yeah, a piano, while it's good at being everything, isn't good at being one particular thing. Except for being contemporary. It has a distinctly modern sort of voice. If you want modern emotional moments, then you can opt for a piano plinking out. Ding 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 ding. You could have a piano do that, but it doesn't fit in the world and in the sonic framework that Howard Shore is creating for The Lord of the Rings. Now, I've obviously been rambling on a while and kind of just saying the same things over and over again. But please tell me in the comments if you're invested in this topic at all, whether The Lord of the Rings or music in The Lord of the Rings or pianos or any instrument. If you're an instrument bigot, please leave your bigotry in the comments below so I can see what your thoughts are on this. I'm legitimately curious because I could ramble about my own speculations for days and days, but I think the most interesting thing about the video is just the realization of the premise. Isn't it striking that The Lord of the Rings intentionally opts to not use a piano? That's cool, man. Tell me. Talk to me, Goose.